Come in, come in, come in. Welcome.
Thank you.
Buckle up, folks. There's a fascinating story waiting to unfold. Imagine a community rooted in simplicity, steering clear of modern tech, yet presenting a surprising twist when it comes to U.S. military service. In this video, we're diving into a captivating question. Do the Amish ever serve in the Army? The answer might just take you by surprise. But that's not all. What happens when an Amish individual decides to break tradition and enlist? It's a compelling narrative filled with unexpected turns. Don't miss this deep dive into the Amish perspective on military service. It's a story you won't forget. The Amish are a fascinating group, living a lifestyle that feels like stepping back in time to a simpler era. It's not just about avoiding modern technology. It's a deeply rooted commitment to traditions and values that shape their everyday lives. At the heart of Amish life are faith, family, and simplicity, which clearly define their priorities. You won't find them attending a typical church service. Instead, they worship at home, and once a year, families host large gatherings, welcoming up to 150 people. Guests sit on backless benches brought in by a bench wagon, strengthening both their spiritual and social connections. Music is another timeless tradition for the Amish. They sing centuries-old hymns without instruments, often taking 15 minutes to sing just 3 stanzas. This unhurried pace is intentional, creating a reflective, meditative link to their faith. Even their clothing reflects their values. Modesty and simplicity are woven into every detail. Women wear long dresses with aprons, fastened with straight pins, while men stick to functional outfits like dark suits and suspenders. Hairstyles are also meaningful. Women keep their hair long and neatly tied back, and married men grow beards as a symbol of commitment. Despite their strict lifestyle, they thrive within close-knit communities. A great example is their tradition of barn raisings, where the entire community comes together to build a barn in a single day. While the men handle construction, the women ensure everyone is well fed. It's teamwork and faith in action. So how do they deal with living in a world driven by technology? The Amish approach technology thoughtfully and purposefully. They don't see it as inherently bad, but they avoid anything that might distract from their values of family, faith, and hard work. Their homes aren't connected to the electrical grid. Instead, they rely on gas lanterns, wood stoves, and sometimes propane-powered appliances. Some communities even allow limited use of work-only cell phones or hire drivers for transportation. These choices aren't random. They're all measured against the Ordnung, an unwritten set of guidelines unique to each Amish community. The Ordnung shapes every aspect of Amish life, from what they wear to whether they'll adopt solar panels, a modern twist that some communities embrace for self-sufficiency while staying off the grid. It's a careful balance between preserving their culture and adapting when necessary. They farm their land with minimal machinery, educate their children through the 8th grade, and rely on pooled community resources instead of insurance. These choices reflect their dedication to living simply and staying separate from what they call the English world. Yet, even with this separation, Amish communities thrive. Their routines, traditions, and deep faith give their lives a strong sense of purpose and a timeless quality. Curious how their values fit with military service? The answer might surprise you. Ever wondered how the peace-loving Amish handle situations where they're called to serve in war? To understand, we need to explore their deeply rooted religious belief in non-resistance, inspired by biblical teachings like turn the other cheek from the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 39, and love your enemies, book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 44. For the Amish, going to war isn't just a tough decision. It's a direct challenge to their way of life. Because of this, the Amish often take on the role of conscientious objectors, which grants certain exemptions during times of conscription. But that doesn't mean they avoid wartime involvement altogether. In both world wars, many Amish men were drafted but chose non-combat roles. Surprisingly, while they refused to carry weapons, they still contributed to joining programs like the Civilian Public Service, or CPS. Whether working in hospitals, forestry, or even assisting with scientific research, these men found ways to help the national effort while staying true to their values. That said, being a conscientious objector wasn't always easy or widely accepted. During World War I, for example, some Amish men faced mistreatment and heavy pressure to conform in military camps. Yet, in classic Amish fashion, they stuck to their principles and carried out their alternative service with quiet determination. An interesting shift happened during the Vietnam War, when the Amish Steering Committee negotiated a groundbreaking agreement with the U.S. government in 1969. This allowed Amish men to complete their alternative service on their local Amish farms, letting them support the war effort while staying close to home and maintaining their faith.
We thank you for each of the kids, bringing us here from the weekend. Just bless each one now.
Of course, there have been exceptions. Occasionally, Amish individuals make the uncommon decision to enlist in the military. Take Floyd Helmuth, who joined the Navy at just 18 during World War II, or Melinda Dennison, an ex-Amish woman who served as a military police officer. While their choices are remarkable, they likely came with the loss of ties to their Amish communities. Still, Amish veterans are extremely rare. The community tends to focus on alternative ways to serve during times of crisis. Whether as farmers, builders, medics, or caregivers, they contribute not through combat, but by supporting and providing for others. It's pretty incredible to see how the Amish stay true to their peaceful beliefs while still finding ways to support their country. Their ability to balance faith and duty highlights their resilience and creativity in navigating the challenges of the modern world. But what happens when an Amish individual does decide to enlist? That's a whole different story, and one that can change the course of their life forever. Military service directly clashes with the Amish belief in non-resistance, rooted in biblical principles like turn the other cheek. Their commitment to non-violence is unshakable. Yet, every now and then, an Amish individual chooses to take a different path and enlist, fully aware of the impact this decision will have on their personal life and community ties. For most Amish people, joining the military means separation from their community. This isn't just a subtle disapproval, it's serious. They may face shunning, which could mean being excluded from shared meals, friendships, and even basic interactions within the community. While they're not entirely cut off, contact is usually limited to emergencies, making this choice a lonely and challenging journey. Take Private Melinda Dennison, for example. Raised in an Amish community in Spartanburg, Pennsylvania, she left that life behind and started over. With only an 8th grade education, she earned her GED, became a certified nursing assistant, and eventually joined the U.S. Army as a military police soldier. Melinda's story is one of determination and resilience. She left everything she knew to follow what felt right for her. For some, like Floyd Helmuth, it's about answering a sense of duty. Helmuth grew up Amish but enlisted in the Navy during World War II, trading his quiet farm life for the chaos of war. He served in the Battle of Okinawa, proving that even within the Amish, a sense of patriotism can spark deeply personal choices. Others faced more tragic outcomes. Andrew Stoltzfus, raised in a traditional Amish family, joined the Army during World War II and was killed in action. His decision caused mixed emotions back home. His community struggled to balance honoring his sacrifice with grappling over his departure from Amish values. What stands out in stories like Melinda's and Floyd's is not just the courage to enlist, but the strength to leave behind everything familiar. For the Amish, stepping away from family, faith, and tradition is a monumental decision with long-lasting effects, sometimes even shaping the generations that follow. Interestingly, those who've made this leap often credit their Amish upbringing for helping them succeed in the military. Traits like discipline, early rising, and a strong work ethic are deeply ingrained and can make the transition smoother. Melinda has even mentioned these values made adapting to military life easier for her. But for each person who takes this path, the journey is deeply personal. Balancing the Amish teachings of faith and peace with the call to serve requires immense inner strength. It's a choice that reshapes their identity and the legacy they leave behind. These stories are fascinating, but they also raise bigger questions. What happens when someone completely steps away from the Amish way of life? Is their faith lost, or do they find a new way to combine tradition with modernity? There's so much more to explore. For the Amish, nonviolence isn't just a rule, it's a way of interpreting Christian teachings. Phrases like love your enemies and turn the other cheek are more than just words, they're a way of life. Because of this, conscientious objection is central to their values, and U.S. laws recognize their stance. During times of conscription, most Amish avoid combat roles, instead contributing through alternative services. These were often physically demanding tasks like caregiving in hospitals, improving farming practices, or even fighting forest fires. That said, every shift brings its challenges. During the Vietnam War, for example, young Amish men sometimes had to work in urban settings or workplaces that exposed them to a very different way of life. To bridge this cultural gap, Amish leaders negotiated an agreement with the Selective Service in the late 1960s. This allowed conscientious objectors to perform alternative services closer to home, on Amish farms or community-approved projects. It was a win-win. They upheld their values while meeting national requirements. Even today, the Amish remain committed to peace, relying on strong community networks and self-reliance. Instead of using traditional insurance or programs like Social Security, they pool resources within their community. When someone faces a financial or health crisis, the whole community steps up to provide support, showcasing their values of mutual aid and responsibility. Their beliefs even shape their appearance. Ever notice the signature Amish beard without a mustache? It's not just a style choice. This goes back to the 1800s, when mustaches were associated with the military. By avoiding them, the Amish visually rejected symbols of war, a tradition that still serves as a quiet reminder of their pacifist principles. While they avoid military service, the Amish aren't stuck in the past. They find ways to adapt to modern challenges while staying true to their beliefs. By fostering strong communities and contributing through peaceful methods, they continue to thrive in a rapidly changing world. But here's the big question. How do they manage to hold on to these traditions in the face of constant change? Stick around, because what's coming next might just surprise you. Travel back in time, and you'll find the Amish have their roots in the 16th century Anabaptist movement. It was a turbulent era, full of unrest and political chaos, but out of it came a group of people devoted to peace and simplicity. The Anabaptists, who later became known as the Amish, broke from the norm by prioritizing adult baptism, a simple lifestyle, and most importantly, a commitment to nonviolence. This dedication to peace served two purposes. Spiritually, it reflected their faith, but it was also a matter of survival. Facing relentless persecution from both religious and political authorities, they had to cultivate a peaceful way of life to endure. They found refuge in their tight-knit communities, creating a space where they could follow their beliefs without interference. Their commitment to nonviolence was so strong that love your enemies became a core part of their identity, a principle the Amish still hold dear today. Their pursuit of peace didn't stop in Europe. Seeking religious freedom, they crossed the Atlantic to the United States. Even there, during times of military drafts like the Civil War or the World Wars, they faced challenges. They had to navigate their beliefs while resisting national calls for military service, further solidifying their role as conscientious objectors, an incredible show of their unwavering faith. This journey through history not only highlights the Amish community's consistent opposition to war, but also shows their unique evolution. They're more than just a religious group. They're a living testament to the power of faith, standing as a peaceful and committed community that has stayed true to its values above all else. The Amish community leads a distinctive life, where the principle of conscientious objection isn't just a personal moral choice, but a trait that defines their entire society. Whenever an Amish man decides to embrace this principle, it's no solitary journey. His community walks with him, ensuring his integrity remains untouched without the fear of being alienated. Let's rewind to World War II, which showcases a riveting example. Amish men were seen serving in civilian public service, CPS camps, an alternative to the battlefield. Spending exhausting days filled with intensive labor in hospitals, forests, and ancestral farming projects, the conditions were far from easy. But guess what swung the balance? The endurance and encouragement of their families and communities back home. They made sure the objectors' farms and obligations were attended to. It resounded their conviction in the value of mutual aid. Fast forward to today, this spirit of unity and helping each other is still an integral part of Amish life. Quite typically, you can see families rallying around in times of need, be it building a barn, managing overwhelming medical bills, or backing someone grappling with ethical complexities in the larger world. The Amish understand that service and sacrifice transcend personal boundaries. It's a shared responsibility. Fast forward to today's digitized world, and the Amish stance on nonviolence finds itself grappling with new trials. Gone are the days of forced enlistment, yet the landscape of societal evolution persistently nudges their convictions. One of these trials? The rise and dominance of technology. Now, consider the double-edged sword that technology presents. On a positive note, it shines a spotlight on worldwide conflicts and humanitarian crises. But at the same time, it threatens to yank the Amish out of their tight-knit community as they depend on it. Picture young Amish guys involved in urban alternative services encountering the world of smartphones, TVs, and other contemporary influences for the first time. This could potentially put a strain on their connections to their Amish roots. A different struggle resides in the way the broader society perceives them. Detractors might misinterpret their pacifism as simply rolling with the punches. However, from the Amish perspective, this non-resistance is a conscious, deliberate decision. It's a stand against contributing to harm and an unwavering pledge to unearth peaceful solutions. Their steadfastness and their convictions shows that peace isn't some distant dream. It's a tangible, achievable reality. You might think the Amish don't do much to tackle big societal issues because they don't serve in the military, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Their peaceful way of life, combined with a strong commitment to service and care, makes a real difference. Whether it's stepping up after natural disasters or resolving conflicts without violence, the Amish show how a non-violent approach can still have a big impact. Take their disaster relief efforts, for example. Through groups like the Mennonite Disaster Service, they work closely with the outside world, offering generosity and humility that leaves a lasting impression. And it's not just about helping people. There's a lot to learn from how the Amish live sustainably. Their focus on simplicity and caring for the planet is a great reminder of how communities can thrive without overdoing it or causing harm. It's a lifestyle rooted in faith that feels more relevant than ever in today's conversations about sustainability. The Amish may live simply, but their impact is anything but small. Imagine the resilience it takes to choose conscientious objection. At first glance, it might seem like the easier route, but for the Amish, it's anything but simple. Their choice has brought them plenty of criticism, cost them business opportunities, and even led to accusations of being unpatriotic, all because they've stayed true to their beliefs. For the Amish, this isn't just about making random decisions, it's about deeply rooted values, choosing peace over retaliation. They've shown us what it means to follow your own path, even when it's the harder one. To them, bravery isn't about picking up a sword in battle, it's about having the courage to leave it behind and choose peace instead. Isn't it incredible how firmly they stand by their commitment to nonviolence and their belief in peace? It's a powerful reminder for all of us. True courage isn't always in fighting. Sometimes it's in compassion, dedication, and believing in the power of peace. A community rooted in peace, integrity, and compassion. Their choice to turn away from retaliation isn't weakness. It's a powerful commitment to unity and strength through simplicity and kindness. What do you think? Could we all learn something from their focus on harmony and simplicity to create a more peaceful world? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this journey into Amish life inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might enjoy the insight. Thanks for watching. And remember, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring the stories that connect us all.